Hello and welcome. This is class number 26 of the UPSC Mains Answer Writing Initiative, a place where we are trying to simplify answer writing for you. This is the 26th consecutive day that we are here. We have not missed out on any single day. I told you earlier, I'll be as regular as you are here. As you know, every single evening at 7 p.m. we have this session where we try and answer a previous year question and also give you homework for you also to try your hand at answer writing. In case you have missed out on any of the earlier classes, I am giving the link of the entire playlist in the description of this video. Do go ahead and watch that. In the description, you'll also find link of the Telegram channel. You can become a part of it where I upload PDF of all these lectures and you can download that for your own revision going forward. So let's see what is it that we will be discussing today. But before that, once again reminding you, in case you did not attend the earlier classes of this series and you are new here, in the very first class of this series, class number 1, we discussed in detail about how to write the introduction, the main body and the conclusion of an answer. So if you are very new to answer writing, if you have not written any answer at all and you still are not sure how to start the answer, how to write the conclusion, how to write the introduction part, where to write the way forward, what to write in main body, to write in point wise or paragraph wise, etc. If you have those kind of basic doubts, I would really urge you to go on this playlist in the description of this video and go to class number 1. In the first class, we have discussed about this particular issue and you can get a much clearer idea and then you can come back. Now that is clear, that's out of your way. Let's see what is it that we will be taking up today. So today we are taking up a question from 2023 paper GS2. The question is, development and welfare schemes for the vulnerable by its nature are discriminatory in approach. Do you agree? Give reasons for your answer. Slightly tricky question. See, questions where they ask you point blank specific things about, let's say, power of governor, process for this, what is it that Chandrayaan 3 will do. Those kind of straightforward questions are easier to answer. These questions require you to think very hard. What is it that they're asking? They are saying that the welfare schemes that the government runs. For example, let's take an example. Let's say Government of India launched Eklavya schools. Now, Eklavya schools are specifically residential schools for scheduled tribes people. Children from the scheduled tribe who have a high dropout rate. For them, just like Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalayas, schools have been set up for them called the Eklavya school. So, the question is, these kind of welfare schemes are discriminatory in nature. Discriminatory in the sense that they focus on some part of the society while they exclude the other part. So, they are discriminating in the society. Do you agree? And give reasons why do you agree. Now, obviously, in these kind of answers, you can't say I don't agree. Because if you say I don't agree, your answer is over then. So, you have to say you agree, yes. And then you have to explain what do you mean by that. For example, as I told you, when the government launches Eklavya school, they are targeting the children from scheduled tribes, but there may be other children who are not from scheduled tribes. They may also have a need for such schools, but they are excluded from here. Similarly, let's assume Manrega scheme. Manrega is a scheme that provides you employment only in the rural areas. Let's say in urban areas, in cities, there are people who don't have any livelihood or don't have any employment. They want a job like that. They can't have that. So Manrega can be called as discriminatory. Why? Because it is discriminating against the urban population. Eklavya schools are discriminatory. Why? Because they are discriminating against non-scheduled tribe children. So this is what it's saying, that even the welfare schemes which are focusing on certain individuals, even they are discriminatory in nature and they are not all inclusive. So that is what you have to expand on. We'll start with the introduction. Now in these questions, introduction is usually tricky because you can't write a fact. There is no fact as such to be written. There is no definition as such that you can write. Because what will you define? Will you define what is what is vulnerable? No, you can't define what is welfare. These are very generic words. You can't define that. So you have to find out a way to write introduction for these kind of questions. What do you do here if you can't fit in a fact or a definition? Usually, you expand on this like an essay. For example, in the question is asking you, do you support it or not? You can write in the introduction that yes, these kind of schemes are discriminatory in nature, as they always have been since our independence, something like that. So in the intro, rather than writing a fact or a definition which will not fit in here, it is better to just expand on the question and make your view clear that yes, I understand that these schemes may be beneficial to a particular section of the society, but they are also discriminatory in nature against those that are not covered under this scheme. And then we'll come to the main body. So now you have to expand. How is it that they're discriminatory in nature? We discussed about certain examples. First, targeted approach. Because they target a certain specific population, tribals, women, specific women, minority, for example. There are schemes, as I gave you the example of Manrega, especially for the rural areas. So when you have this targeted approach, you are not considering people outside that focus area that might also need help. So this is again a problem. For example, and there is an example also, Adivasi Mahila Sashактikaran Yojana. It gives financial assistance to tribal women only. So women who are not from tribal category, even if they require such help, they will not be given this help. Here you can give example of Manrega also, as I just gave you. It also can lead to stigma. Means a lot of people don't want to take government schemes help or help of the government programs, because they don't want that in the society people will say, oh, you are dependent on the government, you are a burden on the government resources. So it leads to a lot of stigma as well. For example, Ministry of Women and Child Development provides care and support to pregnant minor victims of sexual assault. So girls who were victims of sexual assault, who are minor, who became pregnant, they are given help by Ministry of Women and Child Development. But these girls don't come out in the open, because if someone comes to know that I am covered under this scheme, means it is for those who were sexually assaulted. I don't want the people to know about that. Similarly, for example, there is, let's say, a government scheme where the government says that we will help you if you are poor. People don't want to go ahead and basically prove that yes, I am poor, so I want your help. Although in reality it is actually the same. I don't want to take any name, but for example, ever since UPSC has, or Government of India rather, has started the EWS reservation, I personally know people who have, by some method or by giving some money, etc., have gotten their EWS certificate made. And these are people who are very well off, but they have gotten this made. So in this case, we are seeing people forcing themselves or telling the people, see, I'm very poor, which is not the case, but usually it is the other way around. Anyways, then there are limited resources as well, because the government cannot make sure or cannot really cater to everyone. They have to have a targeted approach only. For example, in a lot of cities you will see working women hostels. In Delhi you have working women hostels. In many cities you have working women hostels. So working women who can't afford to live outside, they are given hostels from the government. What about men? Working men who don't earn a lot of money, they feel excluded, but the government has limited resources, so they would have to see who to target and who not to target. There is a problem of top-down approach, where the government does not, or the agencies, rather than having a proper identification of people who need the help, they will just easily choose one group and then help them out. That leads to discrimination as such, and then there are errors in targeting of the government in any government scheme. You are not expected to write all these points, as I told you earlier as well. In the examination hall, while you're writing the answer in real time, you might not remember all these points. So don't pressurize yourself to write 5 or 6 points every time. Even if you remember 3 or 4 in the examination pressure, that is good enough. Here, you can also give certain suggestions, which is always a good way to have a better answer, to have a more round up answer. So here we can suggest how to improve or how to promote positive discrimination. Just write opposite to what we have written so far. Have much more efficiency. Government should try and achieve equity. For example, schemes such as Stand Up India, that gives out loans not just to one specific group, but loans to scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and women as well. Ensure that there's proper human rights that is ensured, inclusive growth that takes up all the members of the society would always be a good way forward. So these are certain suggestions that you can write. You are free to include 2 points, 3 points, whichever points you remember. Again, I told you earlier, when the question is only asking about a problem, they are not asking about a solution, but it's always good to add solution from your own side, which gives a much better holistic view of the answer, and it always gives a much better impression. We'll conclude here by just giving a summary that yes, welfare schemes are important. They are discriminatory in nature, but as long as it is positive discrimination, this is something that can be done in the society. The government must ensure that injustice is not served against other population that are excluded from this scheme. Something like this can be a round-up good summary to conclude your answer. Now it's time for your homework from GS2. Again, this is a question that you should write an answer to. Skill development programs have succeeded in increasing human resources supply to various sectors. In this context of the statement, analyze a linkage between education, skill, and employment. A question where you can give a lot of examples of government schemes, the scheme that the government is running for skill development, employment, etc. That can be a good way here. If you want, you can submit these answers to me, as many of you have been doing, to my email ID, and I'll be happy to give you a feedback as soon as possible. Again, do become part of the Telegram channel to get PDFs of all these and get all the other updates. The link is in the description of the video. I'll be coming up with other courses as well in the coming times. Thank you so much for joining in. Bye-bye. Jai Hind.